Well guys, the 2024 Tony Awards have been announced, and I'm here to break it all down for you. There's been some surprises, some snubs, and some obvious contenders that got nominated, so let's get into it. Up first we have Best Musical, and this category, I'll be honest with you, I was a little surprised by. Hell's Kitchen leads with 13 Tony nominations. I'm a little upset by that, because I haven't seen it, to be fair. Critics liked it, but audiences, I've been pretty mixed on it. I kind of feel like I already know what kind of show it's gonna be without even having seen it, and I know that sounds arrogant of me, I know that sounds a little bit maybe pretentious, but I don't care. I know I wouldn't like it. It's kind of that typical, generic, Broadway type of show, you know? So there's that. So that was a surprise for most people. Then you had Illinoise, The Outsiders, Suffs, and Water for Elephants. Illinoise obviously was gonna get nominated. Suffs obviously. The Outsiders obviously. Water for Elephants. I know a lot of people thought maybe The Notebook, but I've seen both, and I'm like, yeah, Water for Elephants deserves Best Musical over The Notebook. I would have put Days of Wine and Roses in Best Musical, and I am so upset that it didn't get nominated, because it was one of the best new musicals of this current season, and I can guarantee you it's better than Hell's Kitchen. It is better than Water for Elephants, and I haven't seen Suffs or The Outsiders, but they were two contenders, so I'm not surprised they got nominated. But the fact that it didn't get a nomination for Best Musical, in my opinion, is just a crime against humanity. And personally, I think Days of Wine and Roses should have taken the place of Hell's Kitchen, and then there should have been a sixth for Lempicka. And I know people are gonna be like, "What, Lempicka? What? Have you seen it, Andre? Are you sure?" Yes, I saw it. Is it messy? Yes, and my review is coming. But I just think that there can be 6 nominations, and I wish there was, especially with how many musicals there are this season. I still think Illinois is going to win Best Musical. I don't think that it has any competition. I know some people will be like, well, maybe it'll be Suffs, maybe Outsiders. It didn't get a Best Book nomination, but I still believe wholeheartedly that it is the best new musical of this season, even though maybe the reason why Illinois didn't get so many nominations is because the Tony Committee didn't know if it should count and classify as a musical, because it kind of is its own thing, but it kind of does fall under the category of musical. But yeah. And speaking of Lempicka, it got 3 nominations, but I do think it will close in May. I think that it is unfortunately over for Lempicka, and I'm upset because I do think it deserved a Best Musical nomination, in my opinion, even though I see the flaws in it, and there are many significant flaws in it. I still think it deserved Best Musical, and it deserved better, but it is what it is. Best Revival, you got Cabaret, you got Gutenberg, you got Merrily We Roll Along, and the Who's Tommy. Obviously, Merrily is going to win. I actually kind of was not surprised that Gutenberg got nominated, because The Wiz got such terrible reviews that I knew wasn't going to get nominated, or that its chances were not that high. So I am not surprised by that, and it's making millions of dollars, so it doesn't need a Best Revival nomination. Best Performance by a Lead Actor, Brody Grant, The Outsiders, Jonathan Groff for Merrily, Dorian Harewood for The Notebook, Brian Darcy for Days of Wine and Roses, and Eddie Redmayne for Cabaret. I think this is Jonathan Groff's to win. I think that, in a perfect universe, Brian Darcy James would win, but I know that Jonathan kind of made that character that could never work. And the 2 core things that are praised in that Merrily revival is Jonathan Groff's performance and the direction. And because Frank is able to be seen in a sympathetic light, but also you hate him at the same time, and that's kind of speaks to the genius of not only the direction, but of Jonathan Groff. And I'm happy that he's going to get nominated and win, because he's never won a Tony before, which is insane. For Best Lead Actress, we have Eden Espinosa for Lempicka, Mala Joy Moon for Hell's Kitchen, Kelly O'Hara for Days of Wine and Roses, Marion Plunkett for The Notebook, and Gail Rankin for Cabaret. I think this is Marion Plunkett's to win. I want Kelly O'Hara to win because I think she put on the best performance, and I think she can still win. But again, I think that the Tonys made a bit of a statement by not really giving Here Lies Love or Days of Wine and Roses any major nominations except for score and lead actress. So I do think that this, Marion Plunkett's got amazing response from people, even though I personally didn't find her performance remarkable in the slightest. I thought it was just kind of there. Featured actor, Back to the Future, that was a surprise for a lot of people. I think that George Abdu, I think I'm saying that right, who was in Lampika, he gave a very hammy, over-the-top performance, but I felt like he was deserving of a Tony nomination, so I'm very upset that he didn't get nominated. You have Joshua Boone for The Outsiders. You have Brendan Victor Dixon for Hell's Kitchen, Sky Lakota Lynch for The Outsiders, Daniel Radcliffe for Merrily, and Stephen for Sky Bell for Cabaret. I'm surprised that Sky got in, and I'm surprised if Brendan got in, because I know that he has limited stage time, but it makes sense that Roger Bart and Brendan Victor Dixon, who are two staples in the community, would get a nomination. But I'm just surprised that George didn't get a nomination, and I think he should have. I think Daniel might... Oh, and Paul Alexander Nolan, that's who I forgot. I think he got snubbed bad. He was the best part of Water for Elephants. I thought he was going to get nominated. I thought he was going to win, and the fact that he didn't is very upsetting. I think this is between Daniel Radcliffe and Steven Skybell. I'll give it to Steven because I feel like I like Daniel in Merrily, but I didn't think he was worthy of a Tony win. I thought a nomination, but I was like, a win? But if Daniel won, I wouldn't be upset about it, because I love Daniel Radcliffe and I want to see him win. So he did get snubbed when How to Succeed was on Broadway. For Best Featured Actress, there's 7 categories, which is insane. You have Shosha Bean for Hell's Kitchen, Amber Ingham for Lampika, Nikki M. James for Suffs, Leslie Rodrigo Kritzer for Spamalot, which was a surprise but deserved, Keisha Lewis for Hell's Kitchen, Lindsay for Merrily, and Bebe Neuwirth for Cabaret. I think this is honestly between Lindsay and Bebe. I don't know who could win. I've not seen Cabaret, and I don't think I'm going to be able to see it before the Tonys, so I'm going to go with Lindsay, but I could see Bebe taking this because I know that she was something that was highlighted by a lot of critics in that production. For direction, you have Merrily, Hell's Kitchen, Suffs, Water for Elephants, The Outsiders. I thought Jessica Stone did a very fantastic job with Water for Elephants. I know Diana Tamor for The Outsiders has gotten a lot of praise. I know that Leah Silverman has gotten a lot of praise for Suffs, but I do think this is Maria Friedman's to win. I think that her direction has been the key point of acclaim for Merrily, and so I think that she will win that for Merrily. For book, this is another category that made me very upset. You have Hell's Kitchen, The Notebook, The Outsiders, Suffs, and Water for Elephants. I do agree with almost all of these except Hell's Kitchen and The Notebook. I personally believe that Days of Wine and Roses and Illinois should have gone in this category because while Illinois does not have a traditional book, the story that it does curate for the audience is so breathtaking and so genius and such a spin on what best book is, that I definitely do think the unconventionalness of Illinois hurt it rather than helped it at this year's Tonys. And as for what's gonna win, I'm gonna go with Suffs. I think that a lot of people have been acclaiming that book, but I don't think Suffs is gonna win Best Musical. But I do think, and I don't know how The Notebook got Best Book because that book was horrible. I'm just gonna be honest. But with The Outsiders, with Suffs, could it win Best Musical? There is a chance that the more conventional, struggling political show in an election year might win Best Musical. I don't think it's gonna happen. I think it's very unlikely, but it could. And I definitely do think Suffs and The Outsiders could give Illinois a run for its money, but I still think Illinois is going to win Best Musical. But definitely was snubbed in a lot of categories that I think it deserved. Oh yeah, and I thought that one of the actors in Illinois was going to get a Best Featured Actor part, and I think that Roger Bart and at least Brendan Victor Dixon, they didn't need to be in these categories, and I think they should have gone to those performers, because again, while there was no dialogue for these characters, the way they make them come alive through dance and through movement is genius, and again, it's so unconventional that I think it didn't fit into the boxes for the Tonys, which is very disappointing. For Best Score, luckily, Days of Wine and Roses got in. Here Lies Love, which I was surprised at, but I'm very happy about. Stereophonic, Suffs, The Outsiders. And I kind of was hoping Olympica would get nominated, but I wasn't shocked. I also thought Water for Elephants might get in, but I guess they didn't. I think that this could go to Stereophonic, honestly, but I just don't think with how many awesome scores there. I think it's between Here Lies Love and Days of Wine and Roses, and I'm fine with either option. But I really do hope Days of Wine and Roses gets the win, because I think that it is one of the most beautiful scores that I've heard on Broadway in a long time. And in a perfect universe, this and Here Lies Love would both win, but if I had to pick one, it would be Days of Wine and Roses. But I think that score is definitely kind of up in the air, because I think that, you know, Stereophonic is giving it a run for its money. For scenic design, The Outsiders, you had Hell's Kitchen, you had Water for Elephants, Here Lies Love, thankfully. I didn't think it was going to get a nomination. Back to the Future, Olympica, which I was surprised at, but I was happy at, and Cabaret. I think this is Cabaret's to win, but I could see them losing to Here Lies Love, and I actually prefer that, because Here Lies Love had a stunning set, and I know for Cabaret, it's more that they just transformed it into like a little round circle rather than kind of going as full out as Here Lies Love, for example. And surprisingly, Gatsby got shut out, but again, I think those were a lot of projections versus actual set pieces. Costume design, Hell's Kitchen, surprisingly, The Great Gatsby, which is the Gatsby's only nomination. Water for Elephants, which I was surprised at, Cabaret, and Suffs. I kind of wished Spamalot got in. I know it was a lot of the original costumes, but I still thought it was quite beautiful. And I think, what was the other one that I wanted? I think that was it. So who's gonna win for costume design? I think The Great Gatsby is gonna win, just because I feel like it's very opulent and spectacular costuming. Because I don't think it maybe has a lot of other competition. Maybe for Suffs, because I know that the costumes for those are pretty colorful and bright, so maybe Suffs could win that. For lighting design, thankfully Illinoise got nominated, because that lighting design is spectacular. Water for Elephants, which had an amazing moment at the end of the show with the lights that I thought was brilliant. Cabaret, Hell's Kitchen, and The Outsiders. I think a lot of people are saying The Outsiders, so I'm gonna go with The Outsiders because of the whole gang sequence. However, from what I've seen, I'd give it to Illinois. Sound design, Here Lies Love, which I was surprised at, mainly because Here Lies Love had a very unique sound design. You know, some songs, in some parts of songs, they would get super quiet, and then they get super loud, so I didn't love that. Merrily, which I thought had terrible sound. Cabaret, Hell's Kitchen, and The Outsiders. I think this is The Outsiders to win, just based off of what I've heard. And choreography, obviously, Justin Peck's gonna get a win, and he got nominated. But we also got Here Lies Love, which I was surprised at, but I'm happy at. And Here Lies Love got 4 Tony nominations, which I was not expecting at all. I'm very happy about that. The Outsiders, Water for Elephants, and Hell's Kitchen. So definitely a lot of great contenders for choreography, but obviously Justin Peck's gonna win. And then for orchestrations, Hell's Kitchen, Stereophonic, which I was surprised at. The Outsiders, Merrily, and Illinois, which I was also surprised at, and I do think that I wish that in place of Stereophonic, Days of Wine and Roses got in, and because I think that the orchestrations for Days was quite beautiful. So who's going to win orchestrations? I think it's going to be Merrily, but I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois pulled an upset. So anyways, those are my thoughts on the Tony nominations and who I think is going to win. There's definitely a few categories that are up in the air. Despite Hell's Kitchen getting the most nominations and The Outsiders, I think both are going to walk away with 0 for Hell's Kitchen, 2 for Outsiders. I think Cabaret wins maybe, I'm going to just say 1 for BB Newworth. I think Merrily could win Best Lead Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Featured Actress, Best Direction, and Best Revival, and orchestrations. So it could win a maximum of 6 Tonys, and it would be nice to see all 3 of them win. However, I think I would put money on Lindsay and Jonathan winning Revival and Direction. So I think at minimum 4. Water for Elephants I think brings home nothing. I think Suffs brings home maybe 1 for costume, or Gatsby could bring home 1 for costume. I think Here Lies Love will sadly win nothing, but it could win set. And I think Illinois will bring home Best Musical and Best Choreography. But again, it definitely was an interesting Tony predictions. And this whole season has been very unpredictable. Shows that we thought we were going to fail are succeeding. Shows that got terrible reviews from audiences, got amazing reviews from critics. And these Tony nominations definitely does reflect that. I don't think that the only thing that I think got really snubbed was Days of Wine and Roses in book and musical, and Illinois in book and in featured actor. But other than that, I think this is pretty solid for all of the shows involved. And let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, what you think about these Tony nominations. Are you looking forward for the Tonys? And I definitely do think there will be at least a couple of upsets and a couple of things that are up in the air, like Best Score. Thanks for watching the video. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.